Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And yep, today is what day is it? What day is it? It's the 3rd of February. If you're watching this live, I'm going to talk about three things in this video. I'm going to talk about Dezi Feeman, who I did release a video about Dezi Feeman yesterday, the guy that's on the run in Australia. And the video, the sound from the video that I was playing with the latest news about Dezi, the sound didn't come out, so I've no idea why. So anyway, I'm going to remove that video, and I thought I'd talk about it again because when I'm live, at least I can check and make sure the sound is coming through. Um, Also, I'm going to talk about two inquests that are going on at the moment. Noah Donohoe. These are both in the UK. Northern Ireland. Noah Donohoe, who was the teenage boy who mysteriously disappeared, was seen riding his bike naked, seemed to fall off his bike. It's not really clear what happened to Noah at all, which is the reason why there's an inquest. And then he was found deceased, drowned in a storm drain that's not easily accessible to the public, and nobody understands really how and why he was in there. So we're going to look. That resumed again yesterday. That's running Monday to Thursdays. So we're going to look at the latest news on that. And the other inquest we're going to look at from the UK is the inquest of little Xielo, who's a little boy who fell into the river as he was walking. Now it turns out he was walking with his aunties. They were walking along the towpath of a river, and Xielo, a toddler, ran ahead and fell into the river. And very sadly, despite the fact that he not only his auntie first of all tried to get him from the river, then his dad jumped into the river to try and get him, and was lucky, to be honest, to escape with his own life. And then Xielo could not be found, and he was not found for quite a long time afterwards. So there's an inquest into his death, which I think will be an accidental death, won't it, or possibly misadventure. But anyway, we're going to hear what's happened in that inquest so far. It's planned to be quite a long inquest. So there's a lot of things to come out. But I'm just going to talk about Dezi, talk about Noah Donohoe, and talk about Xielo's inquest. So, yes, now I want to thank all of you because I am feeling better today. Yesterday I had a bit of a meltdown on video. Just like I still haven't been able to get that video that I was talking about that flashed up on my Twitter feed. I still haven't been able to get it out of my head, but you've got to move on, and thank you for you guys as well for the lovely messages you've sent, etc. That's made me feel better. Thank you. So I want to start, as always, by thanking you all. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. A lot of you share my videos. Thank you for that. Thank you especially to my members. Thank you to those of you who sent Ko-fis and are helping towards the purchase of a new computer. Thank you so much for that. Thank you to those of you who sent messages of support, who send me emails suggesting cases, things to talk about. There's always so much to talk about, isn't there? But thank you. Okay, so hello, you lovely lurkers. Those of you who like to watch but don't necessarily like to come into the chat. Hello to you replay crew. Thank you. You can't manage to watch the live, but you catch up afterwards. And now I am coming into the chat to see who's brave enough to put their head above the parapet. Hi, Julie. Oh, Julie, that's so kind. Thank you. Julie sent a super something. but thank you so much. Julia, that's really appreciated. Very kind. I hope you're okay. I hope your parents are okay and you can relax more now. Attempted coffee when, oh gosh, yeah, you had a problem with your bank card, didn't you? Hi, Angel. Good morning. Yeah, I do. I feel a lot better. You know, what can you do? You can't change the world, can you? You can't change the world, unfortunately. I have been going on Twitter much less. In fact, I haven't hardly been on it at all. I think that definitely helps as well. Um, but okay, let's start off with this Dezi Feeman. Now, as I said, I did release a video about Dezi yesterday, just to explain what the latest developments are. And yeah, a couple of you let me know that in the video that I released, you could hear me, droning on, but the actual video that I played, I think it's because I tried to do that video on Canva. I'm trying to use Canva more, but I think it's because I was recording a video over a video. Maybe that's why the sound didn't come out. I could hear it fine as I was recording it, but for some reason, when I downloaded it, it didn't come through. So it might have been too much for my computer speed, internet speed, to do a video over a video. So I won't do that again. If I record on Canva, I will do it on an article rather than try and play a video in the background, because it just didn't work. So anyway, so basically I think you heard what the news was, which is that the police, so Dezi Feeman was the sovereign citizen from Australia who sort of had a bit of a meltdown when the police turned up to arrest him for a historic sex offence. Oh God, I should have said sex, but never mind. He actually shot and killed 2 police officers, very seriously injured another one. And then he went on the run. He just ran out with weapons, or a weapon at least, if not more than one. And there's been no sign of him ever since. And there's been reported sightings, as there always is. The police have been searching for him. You can imagine this is a priority for the police, because 2 of their own police officers have been killed, you know, in the course of duty. And whatever you think about the police or don't think, it's always very sad when anyone dies when they're working, you know, especially, you know, they were just there doing their job, being told to go and arrest him, and they went to do it and he killed them. Now, what the police are saying now, that they are on a recovery mission now rather than a search mission. There was a gunshot caught on CCTV by somebody who lives in the vicinity, and the police are saying now they think that Dezi has unalived himself. But it's a question of finding him. You know, he won't be easy to find. So that's really what the update is. They'll be looking for him. I think they've done 2 days search. They'll carry on searching until they find him. They've got to bring a resolution to this because people are scared in the area. Obviously, if Dezi was still around, armed and dangerous. Also, they want to find him, of course, for the families. Not only the families of his victims, but his own family needs to know, don't they, what's happened to Dezi. You know, there's a sort of reluctant sympathy in me for Dezi. You know, I'm not objecting to him being sovereign citizen. Everyone's got an entitled to their beliefs. But I think, you know, killing somebody, whether it's police officer, you can't rationalize. You can't. Is that a word? Rationalize that. You shouldn't have done that. You know, if you've got your beliefs, you know, have your beliefs and say them. And he was expressing his beliefs on social media, etc. He was also collecting a pension of some kind from the state, so the state's not all bad, is it? But, you know, violence against police officers or anyone, you know, murder, you just can't justify it, in my eyes anyway, you can't. Now, not that I'm jubilant about if it turns out that Dezi is deceased. That's not good. You know, I feel for him. I feel for his family. He's got children, grown-up children. He's got a wife. You know, it's just so sad all round. But I hope they do find him soon. This is like the Travis Decker situation, isn't it? You know, it needs to be resolved. And although it's very difficult terrain to search, I'm pretty confident that they will find him. It's a question of when more than if, isn't it? So let's have a look at this. So I found this is a different video, if you like, news video. We're going to watch, at least I'll know if you can hear it or not, because I can ask you. Right, where is it? That one. Yeah. Now, let me make it bigger, and then I'll just go and make sure it's sharing before I press play. Yes. So now let me know if you can hear it okay, please, because that was the problem on the other one. But I think this should be okay, but we'll see.
Search for alleged cop killer Dezi Feeman this morning, with officers revealing they believe he is dead.
For more, let's bring in criminologist and former detective Dr. Vincent Hurley in the studio. Dr. Morning, nice to see you this morning.
Good morning.
Look, why are police so convinced that he's dead?
I think given the duration.
Sorry about the buffering. It's this computer.
That he's been out there by himself, even though he knows the local area, to survive out there for 5 months during extreme cold and extreme heat, he would need sufficient food and water. So I doubt whether, if he had some, I think that he would probably depleted it by now.
They say there's been no proof of life, but obviously there would be no conventional proof of life.
Yeah.
Is there no way he might have escaped this particular area and be able to survive elsewhere?
I don't think so, because the terrain is so rough. Don't forget that he fled immediately when the police were there. He had very little of a head start.
So look, see how they're searching. I mean, he could be anywhere. He's probably, I don't think he'll be in an open part like that. Doubtful, isn't it? But there's plenty of bushes, trees, etc. You know, it's a big job to find him. But of course, they've got this gunshot, this CCTV of this gunshot. So they may be able to work out some sort of distance. I'm sure they've got experts watching that and trying to judge maybe a distance. It was quite a loud gunshot, you know, so it can't have been that far away from where from the house that recorded it, unless sound just carries so much in this area. But yeah, they'll have experts trying to work that out.
And the police would have put a cordon in to try and contain him to some degree. It may have varied as to where the cordon was over time, but he was by himself and there were a lot of police resources there to surround him. So, yes, look, Sarah, he could have escaped, but I don't think
It's just because there have been examples in the past in Australia where people have been missing for years before they've been found.
Well, Malcolm Naden, but he had 2 days head start, for example. And the bloke in New Zealand, he had a week head start. So he didn't have a head start as such.
Okay. What does that do for the police psychologically if they haven't found him or even his body?
Yeah, I think that the police will be more methodical, but they'll draw on the information they have from the public, and then they'll take that and try and piece it together. So the police will be methodical, and they won't have changed the way in which they investigated this at all.
How long do you keep the patrols going, the drones, the helicopters? That's all expensive.
Depending on.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because this search for Dezi, he's probably in an area a bit like that, isn't he? But, you know, I doubt very much he will have done the police the favour of unaliving himself where he would be easy to be found. Now, if you remember Travis Decker, the horrible scum father who murdered his 3 beautiful daughters and then went on the run and then unalived himself, it's thought, although it was difficult to prove his cause of death because he was so decomposed. When I think they only found his skull, I don't think they found his whole body. But I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, how they found him in the end. It was a forensic psychologist who gave information about where she thought the body would be. She tried to work it out. Sometimes I hope that they managed to do this with Dezi. Was there a place nearby there where he would have felt particularly comfortable, particularly at home? I'm sure that when Dezi ran off with his weapon, he probably thought, oh my God, I've killed 2 police officers. He wouldn't know he's done that. He knows there's no coming back from that. He's probably thinking, well, the police are going to shoot him anyway, which I'm sure they would have done if they would have got the chance. Though I think they would have wanted to get him alive. But, if it's a question of just catching him or shooting him, not letting him escape, they would definitely have shot him. And he didn't want to give them that satisfaction, I imagine. Now, nothing's been found from Dezi, not his clothes, so far, but they're really doing this concentrated search. And, it's interesting what they say. It will be costing a lot of money, but some things he has got to be found for various reasons, for the victims' families, for his own family, for the community that will be, not knowing whether, at the end of the day, if Dezi's not deceased, he could pop up at any moment and, kill them or whatever. He's obviously mentally imbalanced to a point, isn't he? A resolution for the police force itself, because these are 2 of their own that have been killed and 1 seriously injured. There's no way they're going to give up on this. They're doing a 5-day search. The second day will be just coming to an end probably as we speak, because this is Australia. I'm in Spain, so it's probably coming to evening time now in Australia. But they'll carry on. They'll carry on until they find him. There's no way that they're going to let this go. I think if they don't find him in this 5-day exploration, there'll be more searches.
The information from the public, so there's been thousands of pieces of intelligence or information from public. They'll triage the information and they'll pick the ones that they think is most relevant to the scene, and they'll use those first. Once they're exhausted, then they'll move on.
It's buffering again. Sorry about that. Oh, gosh, this computer. Still buffering. I hope you can still hear me talking at least. What's going on now?
Other pieces.
What timeline do they give themselves? Because obviously they've resumed this search now after a few months. How long will they be conducting this particular search before they start again, in months to come potentially?
They will have a time frame in mind, possibly a couple of weeks, and then once that information is depleted, then they'll close it down, move back to the city, carry out a desk investigation, and then pick up more information as it comes and expand it.
It would be just gnawing at the back of their minds, police investigators, if they say he's dead, is it possible? Can he make an appearance again? How do we handle it? How many resources do we have?
Yeah, look, it's an endless question. It's another question to ask, really right, but it is an exhausting process for the police, absolutely, and also for the town people.
Oh, terrible.
It would be horrendous.
Yeah, and I suppose everyone wants answers, right?
They do.
If he's dead, they may not get them.
Yeah, that's right. And they would be exhausted, mentally exhausted from the process.
Yeah, so they've got dogs, drones, a lot of people on the ground. Surely they're going to find him.
Like, where would he be? Where even the body be? It's just really thick bushland, isn't it?
Yeah, look, he could have evaded police capture initially, without contradicting myself, but then have gone back into close to the perimeter or closer to where he was just to evade police. He could have been hiding up a tree. for example, which is not unheard of.
Really?
And then once the police have gone, then he's come back in.
That gunshot is what seems to be their lead at the moment.
Yeah, and that would have
on
been
the day.
Yes, sorry, and that would have been information that the police got and triaged it.
How it plays out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The hunt is on for alleged Dezi Feeman heading out as the research for the fugitive. Live to Gillian, what is this there?
To you, Jane. Well, police have hit the ground running this morning. 100 officers, specialist police are out there in force in the Mount Buffalo National Park in the hunt for fugitive Dezi Feeman. Police have revealed that they believe that if he is in the Mount Buffalo National Park, he is likely dead. And that's because there has been no proof of life since the 26th of August. That is when he allegedly shot and killed 2 police officers.
So this happened, the whole sort of thing started on the 26th of August last year. In 2025, we're now in February 2026. I mean, at the end of the day, if there's been no sign of him, unless he's been like so clever that he's maybe fired that shot to make the police think he's deceased and then managed to, do a runner. I mean, how could he do that? Because anyway, there's no proof. We can only go on the evidence that we've got. It's always a possibility that he might have evaded capture and, as I say, fired that shot to make them think that he's done something to himself. He could be miles away by now. I know a lot of people think he is. Maybe he is, but I just don't think so. I've never thought so right from the beginning. I think he's around there somewhere, and I think they're going to find him.
Injuring a third at his Paul Punkett property. Police say they're not ruling anything out. He could still be being harboured by someone or going it alone on the run. But police on this day 2 of the search have vowed not to give up on finding answers.
We are dedicated, we are motivated. We've lost 2 colleagues and have a third member that's seriously injured. We will not stop.
They've had 2,000 pieces of information come in through the public. None have led to an arrest, but there is still a $1 million reward out for anyone who can help them with their investigation. Jane?
Yeah, now that's another thing, this massive reward, $1 million. Surely, even if he had been harboured by someone, unless they're absolutely terrified of him, and that's why they've not gone to the police. There's not many people for $1 million, that they wouldn't have come forward. So that makes you feel that if nobody's come forward for that $1 million reward, then maybe there isn't anybody who knows anything. But, fear is a big thing as well. There's no point in having $1 million reward if you're dead, is it? So there's always a possibility he's still alive.
Gillian, thank you.
So there you go. That was what I just wanted to tell you about, because that other video that I put out today, the sound wasn't working properly on it. I just wanted to let you know, give you the update about Dezi, and as soon as Dezi is found or any other developments, I will be back to tell you about it. So we're going to move on. Now, don't forget as well, let me know what you think. Do you think Dezi is still alive? Do you think it's possible that he could still be alive? Or do you agree with the police that he is likely dead and they're going to find him over the next couple of days? Let me know your opinion, as always. Respectfully to Dezi as well, because at the end of the day, he's got a family out there who have lost their husband and their dad. Whether you think he's right or he's wrong, or he killed 2 police officers, and that's terrible. But he has a wife and children out there that I presume still care about him. So yeah, very difficult, very sad. Anyway, let me know what you think. So that's Australia. Going to Australia now. I just stop now and say to you, please remember to like, subscribe. There are 3 ways you can help my channel. If you want to help my channel go a bit further, you can become a member, or you can buy me a Ko-fi. And that's all going towards a new computer at the moment. So my computer blew up a couple of days into the new year, and that's why I'm working on this laptop, which is so laggy and slow. But anyway, it's better than nothing, isn't it? Okay, so we're going to go to the UK now. We're going to go to 2 cases in the UK, which really, strictly speaking, they're not crime cases. Or the Noah Donohoe is unclear really what happened to Noah. It seems like with little Xielo, it was a terrible accident where he's fallen into the river. And both of those inquests are going on at the moment. And so we're just going to look now. Let's have a look at Xielo first, I think. Let's see. Now, Xielo was the little boy, I think he was 2, only 2, just a toddler. Now, we all know what a difficult age that is. Toddlers run off, don't they? They run off, it's easy for them to have accidents, because they think it's fun, don't they, to run off. They don't realise the danger they're in. When they run into the road, or they run down an escalator if you're in a store or whatever. There's lots of things that they do. Just wait for it to share. There he is. There's his little face, bless him. So Xielo is now turning out the, let me tell you where this was in the UK. Where is it? Leicester. In Leicester in the UK. Let's have a little look at Leicester, where it is. Okay. I'll make sure that's shown. I have to check everything. There it is. So here's Leicester, and this is where it happened. So it's not that far from Birmingham, if you know the UK at all. Got Birmingham, Manchester, and Leicester is here. And that's where it happened, and it's now transpiring that, in fact, Xielo was on a walk with his 2 aunties along the towpath of the river when he ran off from them. Let's go back to the other one. So yeah, poor Xielo died after falling in the river on a walk with his aunties. And, my heart goes out to them as well. I don't know how they look at his little face, how they must feel. Just can't imagine, can you? These freak accidents, they do happen, and especially with toddlers, they're so mischievous, aren't they? And they've discovered the ability to walk and run, and they think it's funny to run off, and that's just what they do, isn't it? So you've got to watch them literally, not only every minute, but every second. You cannot relax for a minute if you've got a toddler, if they're walking. It's funny, isn't it? Because you encourage your children to walk, of course, but it does make life a lot more complicated than when they just sit in the pushchair. At least when they're sitting in the pushchair, you've got complete control over them, haven't you? And then you just would not even think, if you were walking by the river like that, it wouldn't even occur to you that they might fall in, really, would it? I mean, anyway, So, a 2-year-old boy died after falling into a flooded river while on a walk with 2 of his aunts, an inquest occurred. Sorry, that's because number one son has just gone out to get a haircut, and he puts the dog in the bathroom while he goes out. And of course, then she just gets herself out of the bathroom. Yes, he'll be back in about an hour. So, so he died after falling into a flooded river while on a walk with 2 of his aunts. He fell into the Xielo Marisuva, fell into the River Soar from Packhorse Bridge in Leicester on the 18th of February. 2024, no way. Has that been 2 years? 2 years since that happened. Oh my goodness, where does the time go? Can you believe that? We covered that, didn't we, at the time? Has that really been 2 years? Goodness me. Yeah, virtually to the day, or not far off it, because we're now on the 3rd of February and it happened on the 18th of February. I think the reason as well, it's seeming to me that how it couldn't be that long ago, but of course it is, because he wasn't found for 4 months. This little angel, this precious child, and despite many, many searches by police and private divers, etc., 4 months later, he was found, and he was not found in the river. He was found at the Ayleston Meadows Nature Reserve, which is like, because there's like a lot of wetlands near this river. So he'd been washed out, it's just awful, his poor family. So Senior Coroner Professor Catherine Mason said that Xielo was walking ahead of his aunt, Nicole Marisuva, and his great-aunt, Memory Marisuva, when he stopped, turned, and disappeared from view into the river. On Monday, Leicester Coroner's Court heard tributes from Xielo's parents, Kayla Smith and Bradley Marisuva, who had to be physically removed from the river as he searched in vain for his son. Oh, bless. Oh, my heart just goes out to these parents and to the aunties. Could you imagine how you'd feel? Oh, my God. Now, yeah, it was a time when there was flooding. There was a lot of rain and that. So, I bet there's times when you could go and walk by the side of that river and it'd be tranquil, and it wouldn't even occur to you that anything terrible could happen. But this was the weather conditions, both after the event when they were searching for Xielo. That's what's made everything so difficult. And I think it's sort of, I know it's cold comfort, but at least they did he was found in the end. At least he could be buried. At least his parents, could, because of course there was usual sort of conspiracy things going on at the time. Had Xielo been kidnapped by somebody, all that. So these parents, and the whole family have just gone through hell, worrying what had happened to Xielo. And although, awful when his body was recovered in one way, at least he could be buried decently, that poor little angel. So the inquest, which is being heard in front of a jury, was told that Nicole and Memory had arranged to take Xielo on a walk, and they set off from his father's house in the afternoon of the 18th of February. And Nicole said that Xielo was initially carried at the start of the walk due to roadworks on the path and small roads before being allowed to walk when they entered Ayleston Meadows. So the irony, isn't it? Because, they wouldn't let him walk at first because of the roadworks and it was dangerous. And then they got to a part where they thought it was safe. So the inquest heard that Xielo's aunts took pictures of him in their arms at the beginning of Packhorse Bridge, but put him down after he started to cry. Dear me, this is so tragic, isn't it? So he's crying to be put down. He wanted to be put down. He wanted to walk. He wanted to run, I imagine. You know, that's what toddlers want. Honestly, it's ironic, isn't it? You spend the first couple of years of your child's life encouraging them to walk and to talk. And then after that, it's trying to get them to sit down and be quiet, isn't it? It's like, especially toddlers, they're not called the terrible twos for nothing. You know, what this power that they find, isn't it, with their running and walking and talking. You know, they are mischievous. Toddlers are very mischievous. As I say, not called the terrible twos for nothing, isn't it? I think children, they go through stages, don't they? I think in my experience, I'm only talking about my experience. Obviously, some people have opposite experiences. You know, babies are easy. I think babies are easy. You can, as long as, you know, you feed them when they're hungry, you know, they change their nappies and things. It's easy to keep them happy. Then toddlers are hard work, you know, because they sort of, also they get quite bolshy, don't they? It's like, I don't know, they almost deliberately try to wind you up, I think, and then they go through that stage, and then they get to a nice stage again, don't they? Maybe when they're 5, 6, suddenly they're lovely again, and then they get to be a teenager and then forget it again. You know, it's like all these different, it's a roller coaster, you know, having children, isn't it? You go through highs and lows. I mean, it's all lovely. You love your child, whatever they do, but you know, they do go through these different stages. And Xielo, of course, was at a stage where he would be a little bit naughty, and maybe a little bit more naughty for his aunties than he would be for his dad or whatever. Sometimes that happens as well. And also, I think when you're looking after somebody else's child, you're not as strict with them, are you, that you might be with your own child, because you don't, you know, it's a different sort of dynamic. Isn't it? And you wouldn't want him to cry. You know, if you're looking after it, you'd be like, oh no, don't cry, don't cry. And you try and placate them perhaps more than the parents would. You know, parents may be a bit more strict, I don't know, with their telling them off and stuff. Hi David. Hi David. So yeah, so they heard that they took pictures of with him in their arms at the beginning of Pack Horsebridge, but they put him down after he started to cry. She told the court on Pack Horsebridge, Xielo was a bit ahead of her and Memory before he turned to his side, and the jury heard the bridge had a waist height wall. So that'll be, I presume, an adult waist height wall. So it'd be a lot higher than Xielo on both sides. And it was not clear to pedestrians where the bridge ends. Tearfully giving evidence, this poor woman, honestly, I cannot imagine how this woman feels. His auntie Nicole said, I saw Xielo on the side and he took what looked like a step, but once he took that step, he wasn't there anymore. So, you know, I mean, thing is, a 2-year-old might think, oh yeah, I'm going for a swim. You just don't know what was in his head. I ran to the point in which he turned and I looked down, and that's when I saw that it opened up into water. The inquest was told Nicole jumped into the water despite not being able to swim and used her arms to try and find him. Oh my goodness. Oh, so she couldn't swim and she still jumped in. Think, what would you do in that circumstance? You know, even sat here, I'm not in that position. I can't imagine what I would have done in the circumstances. You just cannot get your head around it. I think your first instinct would be to jump in and to try and catch him, you know, or, you know, I just don't know. So she used her arms to try and find him. And as soon as I got in, the water was up to my chest. So it was deep water, and I was trying to find him with my arms, but I could not feel anything in the water. And she told the court she was trying to cling on to anything in the water, but she added, I couldn't find him. Memory added, Memory is the name of the great aunt. She tried to get into the water, but the current was too strong, so she got out and called for help. She added, the path and water were both dark, and she only realised it was not a continuous path when Xielo entered the water. Not a continuous pathway. They've got to do something about that. I hope they've done something about that. Because is that what it's saying, that Xielo would have maybe thought that it was a continuous path and not realised? Because if that could happen to Xielo, it could happen to anybody. Oh, Xielo's father, Bradley, said he was upstairs at home when he heard his mother in a panic on the phone. Imagine that. I mean, you just cannot believe that you'd just be at home thinking your child has gone for a walk with his aunties who adore him. You wouldn't even think that, he wasn't safe. And then you get a phone call, and the inquest heard that his mother told him his sister and Xielo were in the water. So he headed as fast as he could to Aylstone Meadows. And Bradley added he could hear screaming and shouting as he approached the area, and he was shown by Memory, that's the great aunt, where Xielo fell into the water. Jurors were told he entered the water where he couldn't see anything and was dragged under by the current. Now, I know that Bradley, he nearly died. He had to be taken to hospital. The court heard police rescue teams arrived while he was in the water, and Bradley refused to get out of the river when instructed to do so. Oh, bless him. Well, you wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't get out of the river. Nothing, you'd have to be dragged out that river. So, and that apparently is what happened. Bradley said the rescue teams had to physically take him out of the water, and the court heard he was then taken to hospital with hypothermia. Oh my God. Just unbelievable. Forensic pathologist Sir Francis Hollenbury told the jury that she had concluded that Xielo died as a result of the effects of being immersed in water. Bless his little soul. Detective Inspector Kevin Hames of Leicestershire Police said Xielo entered the water at 5, and at 1 minute past 5, police were called, with the first responding officers at the scene at 9 minutes past 5. Jurors were shown body cam footage of a police officer on the scene on the 18th of February, where the officer was told Xielo had slipped into the water. So this is the river. The River Soar. It looks relatively tranquil there, but of course, these rivers, they have undercurrents, and we don't know exactly how it was on the day that it happened. But yeah, it took 4 months to find this little boy, but thank God they found him, because of course with him only being 2 years old, it's very difficult to find a big body, an adult's body. How long does it take to find them? Imagine trying to find a little 2-year-old's tiny body. In a tribute to her son, Kyella Smith told the court that Xielo was a deeply loved little boy and had a lifetime of love that will live forever. She described him as independent, curious and adventurous, and said the best day of my life was the day he was born. He was loved by everyone, and anyone who met him loved him instantly. And a statement from Xielo's father, Bradley, who was also read to the court, which said he was so proud to be his father, adding that his son would be loved forever. And the statement, now these were both statements, Xielo's parents were not in court, or not yesterday anyway. The statement read to jurors said that Xielo loved to climb, with soft play being a regular activity. He loves Spider-Man. Now, you know that picture of him with the Spider-Man outfit on. I've seen so many. I know Spider-Man is a common theme for young boys, but please, to me, it's just like some sort of jinx, because how many children's tragic deaths that I've reported on, and there's pictures of them wearing Spider-Man outfits. He loves Spider-Man. He thought he was Spider-Man when he put his costume on, the statement added. And the inquest continues. So that's the first day of the inquest. This is, let me just show you a few photos of, these fingers. Sometimes you just can't, these freak accidents that happen, you just can't believe it, can you? You're going out for a walk, no reason to think anything untoward was going to happen. There's Xielo in his little Spider-Man suit. Poor thing, this poor little boy, little angel anyway. He's sleeping in the arms of Jesus now. Very, very sad. Anyway, we can't change things, can we, that have happened? I hope if there's a problem there at that bridge where it's unclear, where the sort of path ends and the bridge starts, and there's a gap that anyone could fall down, I hope they've done something with that. I really do hope that they've, looked into that. Okay, so that's the first day of the Xielo inquest. I will keep you up to date with that, of course. Now, we're going to talk now about Noah Donohoe. This is another inquest from Northern Ireland. This is near Belfast. This happened. And before I just start talking about that, I just want to remind you again, please like, please subscribe. Those are free ways you can help my channel. If you want to help a little bit more, you can buy me a Ko-fi or send a super sticker, etc., or become a member. But now we're going to talk about Noah Donohoe. Now, this is the third week of Noah's inquest. This is a very, very mysterious case, another tragic case. First of all, I just want to send out my condolences to his family and his friends, his mum, particularly Fiona. I just don't know how she's coped over the last couple of years, because this is from a couple of years ago, a few years ago. This is not a recent thing that's happened. And they've all had to live with it. And also, particularly Noah's mum has been trolled mercilessly. I just think, what is wrong with anybody who will troll the mother, the grieving mother of a deceased teenager? Why would you even do that? It's terrible. So not only she's lost her son in the most tragic and strange circumstances, she's been trolled mercilessly by people who've got nothing better to do. So what I want to say to people is, obviously everyone's entitled to their views and make their comments, but be respectful always, particularly to Noah's family, because we don't know what happened to Noah. That's the whole point of the inquest, to try and establish the facts. There are certain facts we know, there are certain things we know because we've got CCTV, etc. I've already talked about the first couple of weeks of the inquest, what came up. What I'm going to talk about in this video is what happened yesterday in the first day this week, but it'll be continuing today. It will continue till Thursday. So, there'll be more and more information coming out. But yeah, we'll be respectful, especially to the family. So I just have a slip of coffee. Hi, Bluebell. You just listening tonight. You're in bed. Oh, of course, yeah, because it's night time there, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I don't know what are you. I presume you've still got the hot weather down under there in Australia. Still pretty cold here. Well, it's 12 degrees and it's partially sunny, but it's still not nice weather really. It's freezing first thing in the morning here in Spain. For those of you who don't know, I'm based in Spain. Okay, now I'm going to put a couple of windows down that I don't need because I've got too many windows open, which that actually probably slows my computer down even more as well. So let's see, let's get them all put down. All put down and then get up the details of Noah's, what happened in Noah's inquest yesterday. So, for those of you who don't know, if you watch my channel regularly, you will know about this case. Let's just have a quick recap of what happened. So Noah Donohoe, let's put some pictures up of Noah. A 14-year-old boy living in Northern Ireland near Belfast. And one Sunday evening, told his mum he was going for a bike ride. And off he went and he never came home. Bless him. Let's look at some photos of Noah. Yeah. So another handsome boy. From what's been said about him, is a sensitive boy, an intelligent boy. Maybe too sensitive, a lot. You know what it's like for teenagers, very difficult age. You'd never want to go through being a teenager again. Well, I certainly wouldn't. It's where all your problems seem to start, don't they? You're very self-conscious. You get bullied at school. There's evidence that Noah was bullied at school, but honestly, I think you'd be hard pushed to find anyone who would say they weren't bullied at school. Other children are cruel. There'll always be something, that you might have wrong with you. I also remember years ago, a lady I knew, her son had very big ears and he was getting bullied at school for having big ears. Called Dumbo and this, that, and the other. And so she sent him for an operation to have his ears pinned back, and back he went to school and they started calling him Frankenstein because of the, he still had like the scars of where the operation. So do you know what? Children, honestly, they're not all little angels, are they? There's some very nasty children out there who do bully other children, who will always find, they're too thin, they're too fat, they're too short, they're too tall. There's always something that if some children are nasty and they will find something. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's gone on time immemorial. I was bullied at school, but I wasn't the only one. It was like, just I just don't know what the answer is for that. I mean, you should be able to rely on your teachers or your parents, but then sometimes you come home, you tell your parents you've been bullied, they go to the school, cause a fuss, you get bullied even more. So children tend to stay quiet about it, don't they? Or all you can do is try and teach your children how to deal with bullies. There are ways of dealing with them. standing up to them is difficult, but that's something that worked for me when I was at school. I was being bullied mercilessly by this girl. I can't remember who she was now or her name. That's how inconsequential she was, really, in the end. But she said she was going to beat me up after school. But she was from a different school. She was from a school up the road. And she said she was going to wait for me after school and beat me up. And then through that, and don't forget, I went to a comprehensive school on a council estate in Manchester. It was like, but I think people get bullied whatever school they're in, to be honest. Anyway, I was terrified all that day at school. I was thinking, oh my God, she's going to beat me up when school finishes. I was really scared. And I told someone who then told someone else, who then told someone else. And this whole sort of Chinese whispers type thing happened. And it turned out my school then weren't thinking it was just like this girl was going to beat me up, but it turned into this sort of one school against another, like type thing. So when I finished school, there was this great big gang of people from my school waiting to what they thought meet this big gang of people from the other school, but it was only really this girl and her friends or whoever they were. So she was terrified, and she never bullied me again. I'll say, and I remember that was junior school. It was I was probably only about 9 or something, and I was always bullied at school because I was always overweight. So that's a prime thing, isn't it? But other kids were bullied because they were too thin or they were too tall, or I don't know, their colour, their ethnicity. There's always a reason why nasty children will always find a reason to bully someone, but it's trying to teach your children how to deal with them. And they do have to stand up to them. But I remember my son being bullied at school, and he kept telling me about this boy that was bullying him. And my son's very tall, and he always has been ever since he was a child. And then one day I was at the school, and this tiny little kid came up to me. I went, "Are you Jack's mum?" Like this. And it was, he was this bully. And I said to my son, God, surely you can deal with him. He's half your size. And anyway, that's what he did in the end. He stood up to him. And of course, he got into trouble because he's the taller one, the bigger one of the two. The teachers, when they broke the fight up, my son got into trouble. But one thing that came of that is they were always, after that, firm friends. That boy came and stayed at my house every weekend. They were like inseparable after that, but it had to get to that point where they literally had a fist fight before the situation was resolved. And bullying's a horrible thing, very difficult to deal with, because often, as I say, your children won't want you to know about it because they won't want you to cause a fuss and draw attention to them. Anyway, difficult. So poor Noah seems like he was bullied at school, and I think for sensitive, so like some children are less sensitive than others. They can brush things off. Other children can't. It seems like Noah was a very sensitive child, and then of course we had the COVID. These events that happened to Noah happened just after COVID. So I think all teenagers during COVID, they took it especially hard, didn't they? Because that's a time where teenagers should have been, when you're a teenager, that's when you should be out socializing and stuff. And they couldn't. So, and I do think that bullying is worse these days because you take it home with you as well, because, in these days of mobile phones and social media, even when you've left school, you still can be bullied, like through messages and chats, and and then it's like it's happening in your own home because you're sat in your bedroom with your phone and somebody's sending you a nasty message, calling you names, and it's like, God, it's almost like they're actually there with you in the place where you should feel safe and secure. So, yeah, it is horrible and it has got worse, I think. On a roofless island, all called the namespace. God. Bluebell, awful, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. Quite often little ones, I think. Like my son's always been what you'd call a gentle giant. I'm not saying he's perfect. He's not sure. He's bullied people. I doubt it very much. He's just not that sort of person. But obviously the little ones, I think. I don't know. Honestly, when I saw this lad that my son said had been bullying him the first time, I couldn't believe it. But as I say, it was my son who got into trouble when it did come to the crunch because he's twice the size of him. But anyway, it worked. They became, as I say, best friends, really, after that. In fact, he practically had a bedroom in my house. He lived there so often. So Noah decided, or said to his mum, that he was going out for a bike ride. And yeah, never came home. But then some very strange things happened, because somewhere on this bike ride, Noah fell off his bike. He ended up cycling with no clothes on, naked, completely naked. Now you imagine a teenage boy, 14 years old, is not going to want to be seen naked. They don't like being seen naked in their own houses. They're so self-conscious about their bodies. How could that be? That he was, but there is CCTV of him taking his clothes off, taking his helmet off, discarding his rucksack. And then he was seen by a couple of witnesses actually falling off his bike. And there's a lot of criticism of the police, because the police knew that he had fallen off his bike. They took the opinion that it had a concussion, and that's why he did all these odd things afterwards, like, taking off his clothes, etc., and then ending up being found deceased in this storm drain. But during this inquest, the witnesses that saw Noah fall off his bike said they never said to the police that he banged his head. That the police have just sort of assumed that, and there's so much criticism about the police because they took that opinion. They did not look into alternative possibilities. And to my opinion, when someone goes missing and it's unexplained, a 14-year-old boy, I mean, this is a child. It's not an adult going missing who's maybe got a history of going missing. This is a child. This said he's going for a bike ride and just never came back. To me, until it's like no foul play until it's proven there's foul play. It should be assumed foul play until it's proven there's no foul play. That is my opinion on all these missing cases. When somebody goes missing unexplainedly, as I say, not someone who often goes missing or runs away, or, and this is a boy who said he was just going out on his bike to meet some friends. It should be assumed, first of all, it's foul play. There's a reason why they haven't come back, is because something untoward has happened to them. And then later it's proven they turn up the next day, or it's proven that there is no foul play involved, then change it, not the other way round. Because so vital time was lost in searching for Noah, getting the CCTV and all this kind of thing. And then he was found quite a few days later. I think it was over a week later, wasn't it? So, yeah. Anyway, so we're just going to have a look at what we heard. Let's see where I can find a summary of what happened yesterday. So yeah, yesterday was the first day of this week. Now, where can I find it? Sometimes I put it behind paywall, so we'll try and find a summary of it that's not behind a paywall. Yeah, now there was a funny thing that came up. This is right. Let's read this first of all. So this is something that came up. One of the witnesses says that someone tried to enter their home on the night of Noah's disappearance. Now, is this connected? It may not even be connected, but it's interesting, isn't it? And they've been brought forward to the inquest. A witness has told the Noah Donohoe inquest she heard someone trying her back door handle in the early hours of the morning after the schoolboy's disappearance. Sandra Semple, who lived at Premier Drive in North Belfast, a short distance from where Noah was last seen at Northwood Road, said she was in bed watching television when she heard a noise at her door. She said she heard the sound of the handle being tried at around 3 a.m. on Monday, the 22nd of June. So it was Sunday, the 21st, that Noah had gone missing. She said she did not look to see who was there, but knew that it was around 3 a.m. because of the timing of a program she'd been watching on television while lying on a sofa in a downstairs living room at the back of her home. Now, of course, this may be absolutely nothing to do with Noah's disappearance, but I thought it was an interesting thing that came up. So the witness who used the Zimmer frame during her appearance at the inquest, bless, said she did not ring the police and hid under the blankets till the next morning. Now, that would terrify me, that if at 3 o'clock in the morning I was, sat watching the telly and somebody tried the door. I mean, you'd just be absolutely terrified, wouldn't you? She explained that she thought it was someone trying to break into her home. Now, that's possible because there's a lot of opportunist thieves out there, aren't they? So they'll just go along, try all the doors. They do it with cars as well, don't they? And then if one opens, it's like, oh, yeehaw, get in this one. So that could be it. Could be completely unrelated to Noah's disappearance. And it could have just been someone, an opportunist, trying all the door handles, trying to sort of rob people. Anyway, responding to questions from a barrister for Noah's mother, the witness described the sound as really, really loud and hard. Now, if that's true, then it seems that maybe it wasn't a burglar, because would a burglar make a really loud noise? What is it, like announcing that he's trying the door? Would he not try the door quietly? Anyway, she said she thought she was hearing things initially, but the sound got louder and freaked me out. And she also explained she did not know that Noah was missing at the time. And of course, the body of the 14-year-old was found in a storm drain in North Belfast on the 27th of June, 6 days after he went missing. A post-mortem examination found his death was due to drowning. So it seems there was no foul play in the post-mortem, no trauma, etc. But he said his death was due to drowning. But why was he in there? She told the inquest that Premier Drive and her home back onto gardens, which in turn back onto overgrown waste ground. And she explained there were entrances to the area from Premier Drive, as well as gaps and broken fences leading to the wasteland area. She says she does not know if the waste ground leads to the culvert, which is linked to Noah's death. A lawyer for the Department of Infrastructure explained to the inquest that a staff member discovered it was not possible to walk from the culvert to Premier Drive. And then another thing that came up in the inquest yesterday, again strange, another witness, Gemma McMullen from Northwood Parade, told the inquest that she heard a single high-pitched scream in the early hours of the morning after Noah's disappearance in the area. She said she was reading a book in bed at the time, and the sound came totally out of the blue on a calm night. Because it was a high-pitched sound, she assumed it was a young person or a female, and she said it was loud enough for her to look out, but she could not see anyone. Asked by a barrister for the police service of Northern Ireland if it could have been the sound of an animal such as a fox, the witness said she did not know because she is not familiar with the sound of a fox. And later she said she was pretty confident it was a scream. Now, this is the problem, there's this gap in knowledge of what, there's quite a lot of CCTV of Noah, of him falling, of him cycling naked, of him taking some of his clothes up. There are various, but there are gaps as well. And obviously the question is, what happened to Noah after he discarded his bike? Supposedly just propped his bike up against and was he nude then? I mean, I think it's assumed that he had taken his clothes off by then because he'd been seen cycling naked. Where did he go then? How did he end up? What happened in the bit between him parking his bike up or putting his bike against the wall and then being found in this storm drain? But of course, quite a long time, quite a lot of days after. Did he go and try that woman's door? Was that him with a high-pitched scream? Did he been to somebody that did him harm? Or was he suffering some kind of psychotic break himself? These are the questions that this inquest is attempting to answer. Just makes you wonder if there'll ever be any proper answers. So later this lady said she was pretty confident it was a scream. Now, was that Noah screaming? And if it was him, was it because somebody was attacking him? Earlier in the day, the inquest was shown a photograph of trainers and a top worn by Noah Donohoe on the day of his disappearance. Lauren Russell, a resident of Northwood Road in North Belfast. I don't know if this is actually, it's not sharing, hang on. It's only a BBC article, it's not a video. Lauren Russell, a resident of Northwood Road in North Belfast, described to the coroner and jury how she noticed the clothing and the footwear on the evening of the schoolboy's disappearance from the street. The photograph showed a jacket strewn on top of a garden wall and trainers placed neatly side by side on the street. And the witness said it looked like someone had placed them there. Chris Morrow, another resident, explained to the inquest he noticed a bicycle on the edge of a driveway in Northwood Road on the evening of Noah's disappearance. He also said he noticed a black helmet in the area the following day and alerted police officers who were searching in the area at the time. When asked if he had seen Noah on the day of his disappearance, while the witness was visiting a relative close to where the schoolboy went missing, he replied, "I did not." Morrow also described how he would have been concerned for his own children's safety if he had been aware there was a culvert in the area. He said he knew there was an access point to a former play area, but he did not know what was in behind those gates. I mean, this was an accident waiting to happen, this culvert. But why did Noah go in it? Because he wasn't a little child, who might venture into it. He was 14. He surely must have deliberately gone in there. But why would he do that? Now, if he was, thinking of self-deleting, why would he do it like that? There's so many other ways. It just seems an obscure way to self-delete yourself. If you couldn't be sure, could you? Or did he just go in there to hide, to be quiet, and then misfortune fell, or he couldn't get out? It is a complete mystery. Or did somebody put him there? But if somebody put him there, supposedly his cause of death was drowning. So somebody would have had to have drowned him. I don't know. When he was asked, so this is this witness, when he was asked if he would have wanted to know about the culvert, he said very much so. He said his children would have been told not to play in that area. He also described how he was aware of a cut-through area, occasionally used by some local school children, through overgrown land between Premier Drive and the general Northwood Road area where Noah was last seen. The inquest was shown CCTV footage from the street where Noah was last seen, and there was a focus on identifying feet shown in the area close to the time of the boy's disappearance. And Morrow confirmed he believed 2 sets of feet shown on the CCTV footage belonged to himself and one of his daughters, who were visiting a grandparent with their family at the time. His wife, Lauren Morrow, also told the inquest about seeing the helmet and wondering why was it sitting there. So the inquest will continue today. Don't know what else might come out. Poor Noah. There's 2 lovely boys there, Xielo and Noah, where the inquest. I was thinking about this. We don't know where. None of us know for certain what happens to us after we shuffle off this mortal coil. We all have our beliefs. I like to think that we do go to a better place, and that we do see our loved ones again. That we're all part of a stream of consciousness. But, until the time comes for me, I won't know that for certain, will I? But I hope that Noah is at peace. And, it made me, I was just thinking about that. Wouldn't it be lovely if you could think that, maybe he's there with Xielo as well, even though they didn't know each other in life, if they've all gone on to this, the next stage. And, do you sort of get to meet different people as well? Is it? I don't know. I was thinking about it. You shouldn't think about it really, because unless it's for a comforting reason. I mean, I 100% believe that she had a near-death experience. She told me about it as soon as she came out of intensive care, as soon as she came off the life support machine. She told me that she had, my son at the time, he was only a couple of weeks old, and my mum, she hadn't seen him yet in person. So then she fell very ill, and she was in intensive care on life support. So I went to Manchester with my son to, he was only a baby, to show him to her. And when I got there, she was on this life support machine. She had her eyes closed, and I took her hand and I said to her, "Oh, it's Vicky, and I brought my son to to, you're going to see him. And as I did that, her eyes flickered. I'll never forget it, literally like this. And as soon as she came round from when they brought her off the life support machine, they said she had a 50-50 chance of surviving. But they had to take her off the life support machine because if they left her on it any longer, you know, she would forget how to breathe and that. So they had to bring her off it, but it was risky, but they were going to do it. And she did survive that time. So, and she told me that she dreamt while she was on that life support, she was in a tunnel. She was in a tunnel heading towards the light, you know, just like that classic thing that people say happens to them. And there were lots of other people in this tunnel and animals, which was interesting. There were animals in it as well. And she was going towards the light, literally, and then she felt that I was calling her back. And every time she heard me calling her back, she started going back the other way and back the other way. And I think that was when I went and held her hand and said, "Oh, we're here," and her eyes flickered. I think that's when she came back. I don't know that for certain. That's just an anecdote. You can never prove these things. All I know is that's what happened. That's what she told me. That's what she experienced. You know, she did live then another few years before she, you know, she finally did die because she had quite a lot of strokes and things. She had dementia, but at that time she didn't. She was probably starting with dementia then, but so yeah, is it true? Have you had any near-death experiences? There's so many people that have had near-death experiences. There's got to be something in it. And, you know, it is a comfort, isn't it? You know, to think that one day we are going to see our loved ones again. You know, as you know, if you watch my channel, I've lost a friend this year in January, and I did feel comforted that a white feather was left at my door, and I think, you know, that was from her, but it'd be nice to think that I will see her again one day. Anyway, let's hope so, eh? As I say, in my opinion, there's been that many people that have had these sort of experiences. I can't believe that none of it is true. I just can't believe it, because they're common experiences as well. Different people who don't even know each other having similar experiences. You know, this tunnel is always a theme, isn't it? And then to me, it was comforting that there were animals in it as well, like dogs and cats and things. Are we all, is it like a stream of consciousness, you know, and we just, I don't know what it is. Anyway. Okay, so I'm going to finish there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring particularly about Xielo and Noah, and I'll let you know the next developments. So till I see you again, may your God, as always, go with you. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. And just thank you, Julie, for the super chat. Thank you so much. Bye.